here, we can understand that we're not alone and the fight is worth it. Conferences like this are crucial because local resistance is not enough anymore. We need to work globally together because all this information, propaganda and attacks on us, it has a very global nature. We need to exchange good practices. We need to learn from the mistakes we have made to work together also on the international level.
There is probably the only way how we can win in the long run. So it's not to compete, but rather to share, establish strong networks which can support one another. Then we actually will be able to tackle those complex problems.
This conference made me understand that I'm not alone and that there are actually many people around Europe and the world that went through similar things that our organization went through the last 2 years.
In the team, in the network, in the group, we are definitely stronger and we are harder to beat. So we need to stay together. And if there are more people behind your back, you are louder and stronger as well.
Ever since the first Megaphone in 2018 in Cluj-Napoca in Romania, our goal was to gather activists and CSO professionals from Central and Eastern Europe, Caucasus and Central Asia, activists who were struggling with current challenges, which back then it was disinformation, polarization, democracy backsliding. And 5 years later, unfortunately, we're in a pretty similar or even worse situation.
Together with around 110 activists, we gathered in Warsaw to discuss topics related to communities of practice, countering disinformation, support to the Ukrainian refugees and members of the vulnerable groups.
I think the constant discussion about Ukraine, about what's happening, what's the future going to be, is incredibly important. Even though many people feel that much of the world is on the side of Ukraine, in actuality that's not true. It has great support from the United States, from the EU and others, but there are many parts of the world that have either been neutral or against supporting Ukraine against Russia. So that's a battle that needs to continue in order to ensure that Ukraine is able to defend themselves. Having civil society discuss it in places like Megaphone 2023, there's great fear that if Ukraine is not being discussed by the public or the media, then the governments won't feel responsible to support them militarily or to take in refugees or help them in other ways. If it gets to that point, it will be a very dangerous point indeed.
The goals of Megaphone have always been the same. Equip participants, so activists and CSO professionals, with skills, knowledge to deal with the current challenges, to do their work more effectively on a daily basis. But the other goal is to create a safe space for them to meet, talk, exchange experiences, because some of them work in very difficult conditions, to give them this opportunity to get inspired by each other, because there's also a lot of hope and a lot of great initiatives happening all around our countries.
The most inspiring part is meeting people who seek something completely different. To me, the most interesting sessions are about things which I don't do. Today, for example, I attended one session during which we were using art as a form of working with ourselves. This is something that's very inspiring to me, something I would love to try to start doing.
In terms of the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, is that this will be one of the most visually documented wars in the history of photography and war. It really lent great support to helping the Ukrainian people because people could see continuously what was going on. Visuals do play a very important role, playing a role, of course, in documenting on-the-ground life, war crimes, and the difficulties of Ukraine trying to survive as an independent country.
Do whatever you can to make sure that you are loud and your message is heard.
Megaphone.
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 Megaphone.